Hi there. This week's First Chapter Friday video is The Beautiful Game by Yamile Saied Mendez. And this is a story of a girl who is really into soccer, like I think a lot of folks are in our school as well. And so it's in the sports section of our library. And in the beginning of the book, the main character is the only girl on a very elite boys soccer team. And then later in the book, she goes back to a girls' team due to some various things that happen. And so it's kind of about like being part of a team and how people either accept or don't accept if people who are different part of a team. This author is the same author that wrote Furia, which is a book that has been on our summer reading list in the past. That book takes place in Argentina, also about soccer, girls playing soccer. That one is a little more young adult, and this one is a little more middle school. So if you have read Furia and you really would like to try this, or if you've never read either of the books and you are a soccer fan, you might want to check this one out. So let's read the first little bit of The Beautiful Game. So I should also add that I chose this book because it is still Hispanic Heritage Month, and this is an author who is originally from Argentina, and she also has ties to Vermont because she is a graduate of the Vermont College of Fine Arts that used to be here in Vermont. So let's start with the beginning of this book, Chapter 1, Football. Football, calcio, soccer, football, beautiful in all languages, but also brutal and unfair. Brutal like Utah elites, number 5 tackling me to the ground, making me taste dirt mixed with blood, my blood. Unfair like him calling me names because he couldn't keep up with me, the only girl in the league. I was ready for the physicality of it, the ugliness. I really was. A state cup game, even in the group stage, isn't for delicate flowers, and a flower I was not. But if he was going to use his extra 20 pounds on me to his advantage, I was going to use a few tricks of my own. We were tied at 0 and had only 2 minutes left. We needed to win. Holding my shin that, luckily, he had not touched, I rolled on the ground on the bare spot where no grass grew. I tried not to laugh as I groaned in pretend pain. My teammates and their parents on the sidelines screamed, demanding justice and fair play. The ref blew the whistle. A free kick, an opportunity for me to put my team where it belonged, at the very top. Pretend pain miraculously forgotten, I jumped to my feet and shook the dust off my jersey, number 10. Simon grabbed the ball and placed it right on the spot the ref marked with a spray. For me. Now, here was where football, or soccer, or whatever you want to call it, turned beautiful, poetic, elegant. Suddenly, I had a clean view of the upper left corner. The goalie would expect a lefty to send a ball there. He could block it if he jumped high and far enough. And sure, a boy full of adrenaline could fly. At least our goalie, Benny, a giant among 13-year-olds, could. Coach had another idea, though. He signaled for me to do the trick move, the one in which the wall of players jump because they expect the ball to go high, but I make it kiss the ground and sail under their feet. A brilliant idea, really, especially because the elites hadn't had a lizard lie down behind the wall to prevent that kind of move. Hadn't they watched Ronaldo's free kicks? Still, I hesitated. I had a trick of my own, but could I pull it off? I'd never tried it before. The game is called many different things in many different countries and languages, but its 17 rules are the same everywhere. Plus the unwritten one, the coach is always right. Today I wore the captain armband, but Coach called the plays. He couldn't see what I was seeing, though. He was on the sidelines, not on the field. Coach's plan was good. Mine was even better. If I messed it up, we might end in a tie and risk not qualifying on top for the next round. Then we'd have to face the strongest team in the next bracket, and who knew what might happen? If we lost that game, Coach might bench me next season. Or even worse, kick me off the team. I'd die. But if my plan worked and I scored, glory. I could taste it already, as sweet and cool as the blue Gatorade I gulped at halftime. I stomped my foot, pulverizing Coach's order under the spikes of my pink cleats. Simon whispered, "You got it, Magic." I thanked him with a nod, but I moved the ball just a millimeter to the side where I wanted it. Simon and I stepped back, taking some distance. When the whistle blew, we both sprinted. At the last second, he moved out of the way for me to take the shot. with my right foot, the weak one. Later, I saw a picture of the shot. Benny's mom posted it on the team app, Squad Chat. I looked like a ballerina, my foot pointed, my arm swinging back for balance, my eyes on my target. Instead of keeping the ball on the ground like Coach wanted me to, I shot it toward the center of the goal. Everyone held their breath. The goalie jumped to the corner, the wall stayed put, and the net waved with the impact that had the force of a cannonball. I laughed. I knew the ball would go in. Call it player's intuition. My bench screamed, "Goal!" I ran and ran and ran, fighting the impulse to take my jersey off and swing it in the air like the boys did. The ref would card me if I showed my sports bra, even if it was mainly for decoration right now. There were some rules even I wasn't willing to break. I ran, my feet barely touching the scorched grass and the bare dirt patches, into the arms of my team. "You did it, Magic! Bien hecho, nena! You saved us!" And I couldn't tell who said what. As a reply to all, I kissed my bracelet made of soccer tape. On it, I'd written in Sharpie the names of the people I was dedicating this cup to: Lita and Papa. Lita, my grandma, never came to the group stage games, and my dad lived in New York. But they'd both be here for next week for the final round. They promised. All the boys on the team kissed their own bracelets. Through a gap in the group hug, I glimpsed at Coach standing by the sideline. His face was filled with pride. He shook a finger at me, smiled, and kissed his bracelet too. I didn't know for sure whose name he'd written on it, but I suspected it was his daughter's, Antonella, who lived in Argentina and was battling cancer. I shook my boys off and ran to his side, angling for a hug. He stopped me with a hand. "Next time, do as I say or I'll take you out." "But you let Benny improvise." "It's different. You must set the example. Goal or no goal, I'll take you out." The boys on the bench laughed. But I knew he meant business. Why couldn't he be happy for now? Was a simple thank you too hard for him to say? After all, I was the one on the pitch. When he asked, "Entendiste?" I humbly said, "Sí, señor." I understood, I just didn't agree. He gave me a heavy pat on the shoulder and sent me back in for the final minute. I was hungry for goals, for seeing that net sail again. The state cup was mine, the first trophy on the way to the national championship that I'd hand over to Coach, my grandfather. After the game, we gathered around Coach for the instructions. He cleared his throat and said, "I want you all to go home, have a protein-rich dinner, and go to bed early. We'll have a regenerative practice tomorrow." "Shower first, please," I said, because I had to say something. The toxic mixture of victory, heat, the collective sweat of 15 boys, 2 grown men, and, I accept it, even me, was making me loopy. Benny bit his lips so he wouldn't laugh, but his brown eyes sparkled, and my blood got bubbly. His reaction was worth Coach's furious glare. "Please shower," Coach continued as if I hadn't spoken, "and get a good night's sleep. I don't want any junk for snacks. You need to be focused on the rest of the tournament and—" "Pero Felipe," Jose, the assistant coach, interrupted. "With rivals like this, the cup is already ours." Coach stared at him, and Jose curled up like a dead spider. Coach turned back to us. "The cup is almost ours. Don't do anything stupid and ruin our summer. Now, those of you riding with me, hop in the van. I want absolute silence." We dropped off 5 boys on the way home. With no one allowed to speak, it felt like forever. At every stop, Coach repeated the same words: shower, food, and rest. When we arrived at our house, I chimed in, saying, "Shower, food, and rest," exactly when he did. He didn't laugh, and the smile dropped off my face. I felt the storm coming, and I braced myself for it. He left the engine running for a few seconds before finally turning the key to silence it. "Next time, do as I say, bueno? When the game's that close, you can't take any chances." I opened my mouth to remind him that my goal had given our team an easier way to the final, but his phone rang and he answered without giving me a chance to explain. Without waiting for him, I got out of the van. The scent of milanesas and garlic fries wafted through the open kitchen window and grabbed me by the throat. But when I hopped down, my big toe throbbed with pain. It was always like this. Once the adrenaline left me and my body cooled down, I felt every bruise, scrape, or muscle twitch. I slammed the door harder than I had intended. Abuelo glared at me through the tinted windows. I mouthed, but I didn't feel sorry at all. Before he asked me to unload the equipment or wash the Gatorade cooler, I dropped my backpack at the back kitchen door and hobbled inside the house for Lita and food. Lita! I found her setting the table for dinner. We won! I scored! I hugged her, burying my face in her chest. She was still a little taller than me, but I was stronger than her now. Aye, she laughed, holding on to the edge of the table for balance. My little earthquake is finally home. I was about to start eating dinner by myself. No way, I said, glancing at the rooster clock on the wall. His outstretched wings pointed to 8 o'clock. You always say that, and you always wait for me. Lita chuckled and set a glass pitcher of lemon water on the table. Valeria, Abuelo called loudly, although I was like 3 feet away from him. Help unload the van. He was such a grumpy old troll sometimes. I sent Lita a puppy-eyed plea. Felipe, let her eat dinner first. The child must be so hungry. Starving, I added, clasping my hands in front of me. Abuelo rolled his eyes, but he had no say in Lita's kitchen. Hoping my smile wasn't too gloating, I pulled out a chair, but Lita stopped me. Not so fast. You smell like a pig. She pointed to the ceiling. You know the rules. Shower quickly so we can eat in peace. I slumped. But I'm famished. The food's going to get cold. Now Abuelo was the one gloating, and it was my turn to glare at him. He laughed. Lita gently shoved me away from my chair. It won't. Shower quickly while I fry your eggs. My mouth watered. Okay, but don't tell her anything while I'm gone, I said, pointing at Abuelo. I want to give her the play-by-play. Abuelo got a soft look in his eyes. He enjoyed these back-and-forth pretend arguments as much as I did. He couldn't deny it. Don't point at people, my love, Lita shook her head. How many times am I going to say the same things? She had told me 1,000,000 times. I just forgot. Sorry. I kissed her on the cheek and headed upstairs. Abuelo sighed, exhausted, and headed to the kitchen sink to wash his hands. You should send him to the shower too, Lita. I'm sure 50% of the stink is his. The sound of her muffled chuckle sent a wave of joy all over me. An imaginary stadium of people cheered. Making Lita laugh sometimes felt even better than scoring the winning goal. So, that is The Beautiful Game in the sports fiction section of our library. Come check it out.